Welcome to the Headphone Café. It's a new series we're doing at Bloom Audio, where we're going to take a break from reviewing some of the latest and greatest every now and then, and sit back, have a cup of coffee, and just talk about headphones. So, pull up a chair, grab your own cup of coffee or tea, and sit back and enjoy. Today I wanted to talk about headphone amps. So I've seen a little bit of controversy online lately as to whether or not headphone amps really matter beyond just meeting the specifications of your headphones. You know, do you really need a more powerful amp than one that just basically satisfies the requirements for the impedance and the sensitivity of the headphones you're using? It seems that there's at least a somewhat large group out there saying, no, it really doesn't matter. Unless you're talking about really hard to drive headphones, the headphone amp doesn't make much of a difference at all. I think that's probably more of the hot take at this stage, and my take is probably the cold take, I guess. It's some iced coffee. And so my take is basically that, no, the headphone amp actually can make a pretty big difference, even with low-powered headphones. And I think there's a few ways that happens, but it mostly has to do with the idea of really consistent, clean power delivery. So the one place I see it is in the dynamics and the response. Now, a lot of this, again, is experiential. I'm not going to get out the charts and graphs on, impedance curves and the bass versus the treble and all of that. I'm just talking about when I plug in headphones, what I hear. There's definitely a big difference in the dynamics on a harder to drive headphone, on a planar magnetic headphone, when you plug it into a more powerful amp. If you've ever heard, say, the Audeze LCD4 plugged into the bare minimum versus plugged into something with quite a bit of juice, you'll know there's a huge difference in the way that the dynamics present, in the way that the bass presents with the more powerful headphone amp. And I think that goes on both ends as well, where I have a pair of 99 Classics over here. Plugged into a phone, into a low power source, the bass can get a little bit flabby, a little bit bloated. Plugged into a higher powered headphone amp, something like even say a Burson Playmate, there's a huge difference in the way that bass and the low mids present. It gets cleaned up a lot. The response is much improved, where those bass notes, that mid bass doesn't hang out and bloat. It decays quickly and comes back with the attack when it's appropriate, but that attack and decay element is vastly improved by the addition of a more powerful amp. Now, the 99 Classics should not need anything particularly powerful to drive them. They're very sensitive headphones, but giving them that extra bit of power really does make a difference in that response. And that goes all the way down to something like my Grado SR60s. They sound fine, plugged into a laptop, plugged into a phone. But, plug them into a high-end headphone amp, and it's a totally different animal altogether. The bass really comes alive, and there's so much more richness to the sound than there was before. And so I really have a hard time. Now, maybe somebody can show me the measurements and prove me wrong, but in my experience, I really have a hard time seeing how the amp doesn't just make a huge difference in the sound for headphones across the board. So we were recently at CanJam, and one of the things that we brought was the EF1000 headphone amp from Hi-Fi Man. Now, so that's this massive, it's a 20 watt hybrid tube headphone amp. Sounds incredible. It was specifically designed to pair with the Susvaro, to provide the Susvaro with, basically the ultimate amount, correct, consistent power that it really needs. But something that was interesting is a lot of people came up with just different headphones from across the board, whether it was, an Odyssey, a different hi-fi man, like an HE1000, or whether it was something altogether different, like a Sennheiser HD600. And even though a lot of these other headphones that got plugged in, these aren't headphones that require this level of power. But everyone kind of came away saying the same thing, that the space was huge. The imaging was improved, and that the dynamics and everything about it was just a step up from any amp they'd ever heard it on before. And that's another element that having a better headphone amp can give you that I think falls a little bit more on the scientific end of things. And that's the total harmonic distortion. A lot of the characteristics that a lot of us really enjoy in headphones, like imaging and the soundstage, is really about psychoacoustics, right? It's about presenting the sound, the frequencies, the attack and decay, all of that in a way that generates a sense of space that's not actually there. This isn't like, a 5.1 or 7.1 system where you actually have different points that are creating the sound so you can hear from different directions and create a sort of an image around you based on each point that it's coming from blending together well. You still only have two speakers right up against your ear. But reducing the THD, the total harmonic distortion, can help enhance those psychoacoustics to create the feeling of a larger soundstage and of more accurate imaging. And so that's another element that a high quality amp, and now this is doesn't need to be the EF1000, it doesn't need to be the Burson Soloist GT or anything like that. It just needs to be a well-built amp that was designed well and is more than capable of efficiently driving the headphones that you have it plugged into. And by doing that, though, you're able to deliver the signal with little to no harmonic distortion and improve all those characteristics. And I think there is an aspect of it that will scale up. That the more power you're able to deliver to the headphones consistently and cleanly, you're going to enhance the dynamics of it, you're going to enhance the transient response, the attack, the decay, and you're going to enhance that psychological effect as well of the imaging and the soundstage to really enhance the full headphone experience. So, let me know what you think. What's your experience been with different headphones amp? Have you had a wow moment plugging your headphones into a more powerful amp, or do you think it's not really all it's cracked up to be? I'd love to know. And of course, be sure to like and subscribe, and stop back on by soon. Thanks for watching.